Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another patch notes reading. This is for the preliminary notes for 5.2, launching next Tuesday, the 18th of February. So without further ado, this is going to be quite a lengthy video. I do apologize, but if you're in the car and perhaps, you're busy in the day and you don't have hours to actually sit down and read through this yourself, hopefully this will help you through that and get you the same sort of information as you would if you were to read it yourself. A link will obviously be in the description of this video. So without further ado, let's look at the 5.2 notes. The full notes aren't expected until Monday the 17th. It's pretty well padded out, and there's only a few adjustments to be added on that Monday, so let's read through this. So the main storyline quests have been added to the game. This picks up back where we left off from the last 5.1 storyline over in the Rising Stones with the NPC Kryl. And of course, you must have completed the 5.1 story to continue this one. So the Sorrow of Whirlite, the new Chronicles of Era quest, starts in the Locks, believe it or not, from a Resistance officer back in Stormblood areas. And of course, this will unlock the Cinder Drift as a result of this eventually, which is the new Ruby weapon trial. So there's new storyline to do with Eden, and of course the new Eden chapters. This will unlock in Amarang from the NPC Yalfert. You must have completed the Chronicles of a New Era quest, the next piece of the puzzle, before you can actually pick this one up, and of course unlock the new raids. It's quite a lengthy series of those quests, so get to it. Your Hard Dark Apocalypse actually gets two quests. The first one is Carnivals and Confrontations. These are two quests to lead into the new Alliance raid, which isn't in this patch, and is basically foreshadowing for the future, but they do mention Carnivals and Confrontations, so, no guesses as to where we're going next with that series. New side story quests have been added to the game, including all the fish in the sea, available from level 1 fisher and above. You must have first completed the quest to get your rod and become a fisher. This starts in Limsa Lower Decks from Philisno and will unlock your ocean fishing, which is all the hype. The Qitari Beast Tribe has been added to the game. They are actually shown on this map at the new Hoppel Stoppel, which is near the main Aetheryte in Raktika Greatwood. And of course, there's quest sync involved in that. So, this is a gatherer-only beast tribe where you can be botanist, miner, or fisher. And effectively, you'll be shaping the way that the camp looks through a series of player choices in that quest line. There is a brand new currency as a result of this called the Qitari Compliments, which you get from completing daily quests. And eventually, you'll be ranking that up via the Reputation tab to unlock new rewards from it through that storyline. This quest obviously picks up in Raktika Greatwood itself at that new camp from the Concerned Mother NPC. They say as a small note here, the Weather Fair Skies has been added to Limeg in its finished state, which is a really interesting point. I'm not really sure why that's a thing. Limeg, if you didn't know, is from the previous Pixie Beast tribe, the little instance that you progress through, sort of like you change it as you go. I'm not sure why we need fair skies in there. It's always bright and sunny, so I don't know. We'll have to go and check that out. They say certain Chronicles of a New Era side quest objective icons have been changed to indicate elevation. So if you're doing those side quests and you're not sure if they're above and below you, well, in theory, now you'll be able to tell. And there's an Aetheryte shard for the Doman Enclave docks added to the Doman Enclave back in the Stormblood sort of Doman Enclave progression stuff. So that's sort of better late than never, I suppose, allowing you to teleport straight to the docks. And New Game Plus gets updated in this patch as well, which includes the Binding Call of Bahamut, Alexander, Omega, the Crystal Tower series, Shadow of Mark, Return to Ivalice, the Warring Triad, and the Four Lords for all of the raid stuff. And we also have side story quests added to this, including Hildebrand, Further Hildebrand, Even Further Hildebrand, the Tales from the Dragon Song War, and Saint Endelim's Celasticate as well, which if you want to go and play through those again, you totally can in the New Game Plus. So that's pretty cool. In regards to fates, there are new items from your bicolor gemstones from the gemstone traders. So presumably this will be new housing items and stuff. So we'll have to check those out on patch day. As a side note for fates, they say the participation in fates that appear in seasonal events, such as Momochi for Heaven's Turn, will no longer be counted towards certain achievements for challenge log entries. So you're not going to be able to complete your challenge log entirely with those seasonal stuff. The seasonal stuff is usually a lot easier than the non-seasonal stuff, a lot faster to complete those fates. So this is just a cover-up of that little loophole and a fix there. So, that's not surprising in the slightest. Obviously, we have new rewards from your Zanur skin and Glider skin treasure maps. And of course, that means Gaia as well, the treasure map dungeons. also have new bits to collect, no doubt for the new crafting recipes. Talking of crafting, Grand and Free companies get some new craftable items for the company workshop. Included in this is this sort of beautiful outside decoration for your house, different sort of theme for it, which kind of looks like a bit like a shop. I'm not sure what that is, sort of like a Tudor house or something, but it's a bit too garish for me personally. Solo players in your FC may now advance the production phases in company crafting, so you won't have to have 4 people gather around for no reason anymore, which will make my FC's crafter quite happy. And the following additions and adjustments have been made to subaquatic voyages. There are new areas added, so new dive points, lots of new items, hopefully no new minions, because that's going to cost me a fortune. And the maximum rank of your submersible is 70 now from 65. A side note here as well, for free companies, we're now getting our maximum rank of a free company up from 8 to 30. Now, there are only 20 ranks worth of rewards. So at rank 10, so 2 more than the current maximum, we get the company chest expanded to 4 compartments. At rank 12, we get the increase to maximum number of inactive company actions increased. It doesn't specify how many. At rank 15, we get 5 compartments to our company chest. At rank 18, we get the maximum number of inactive company actions increased. And finally, the same for level 20. There's nothing that says anything for any ranks up to level 30 past 20. But they've either not listed them here out of not wanting to spoil something, or they simply haven't added to the game. I don't know how easy it will be to rank your FC up even further than 8, but I suppose we'll just have to wait and see. In regards to housing, there's a section here. They say that the private estates in housing wards 19 to 21, these are the ones that added in 5.1, and now available for individual purchase. So if you got your eye on a house in one of the new wards and it's just completely vacant, you should be able to purchase that as of the patch going live on Tuesday. Furnishings from the design contest winners back in 2017 and last year are added to the game. We have everything from a bomb cauldron, sort of a chair with stuffed toys on it, a new bed, the photo studio background, which I'm pretty hyped for, and we also have some outdoor stuff as well, like that brick wall with plants growing up of it, and we have some indoor items and that archway there. Very beautiful stuff. I advise you to take a closer look at these if you can and come to the website itself. But yeah, they're all the hype. I love housing items and we'll do lots of videos on them. Aura mannequins are now available. So mannequins previously didn't have Aura as a selectable race, and now you totally can from your mannequin by selecting race and gender. Lots of new orchestrion roles have been added to the game, and as a result of this, they've actually tidied up the orchestrion role list a little bit. Now we have locales 1 and 2 as a category instead of just locales, raids 1 and 2, and ambient instead of just raids, which is quite handy indeed, because obviously some things don't fit necessarily into just one category, and sometimes it can scroll, so it's nice to have stuff on the screen at all times. New aquarium fish have been added, including this massive piranha thing they're showing that I'm not fond of, but I can see people who would want that. New seeds for flower pots have been added from the material suppliers in housing areas, and we have angler prints added for housing. Basically, if a fish that you catch is in the fishing guide, you should be able to turn it into a print. So there's small, medium, large, and extra large anglers canvases that you'll have to purchase or, acquire from other means. And essentially there's a menu where you can basically trade in that fish and turn it into a print, which is quite nice, especially if you have a fish that you would like on your wall. Personally, I would like a Leopleurodon, so let's see if that's possible. And of course, you lose the fish when you turn it into a print. New estate tags have been added. These are RP tags that you see on the map in a ward or at the ward selection menu to sort of better categorize your house. We have the under renovation symbol, which is a hammer and a house. And we have concert hall as well, which shows some music. So that'll be quite useful to identify people who do staged events and music stuff. That's really cool. The Mandeville Gold Saucer gets the new stage, the Falling City of Nim, added to the Gate Leap of Faith. We talked about this and they showed it in the last live letter. In accordance with this new edition, the previous one is now referred to as the Fall of Belladaya, which is its official name. And essentially the gate schedule has been affected as a result of this. So every hour on the hour inside the Gold Saucer, we get Cliffhanger, Air Force One, and Leap of Faith, the Fall of Belladaya, so the old one. So hourly, 20 minutes past the hour, we get Any Way the Wind Blows, The Slice is Right in the Leaping City, the Falling City of Nim. Hourly 40 minutes, we get Air Force One, The Slice is Right, and Leap of Faith, The Falling City of Nim. So They've basically got 2 rotations of the new map and 1 of the old one. So it's not going anywhere, thankfully, because I quite enjoy that map. They've got lots of new triple Triad cards, as they show on screen here, including that lady from Mount Gorg. I can't wait to collect those. And obviously there are new NPC opponents for triple Triad as well. So that'll be all the hype. They say when you're playing Doman Mahjong now, you'll be able to see the opponent's homeworld, which is on the opponent list if you wanted to know that. And there are new items available for MGP and the Gold Saucer. They only show 1 of them, but it's all the hype. It is a new sort of like stuffed rabbit minion. As you can clearly see, it is an outdoors item there, and which means it's a minion. So I'm all the hype for new MGP items. I have like over 3 million MGP and nothing to spend it on, so I'll do some videos on all of those new things. So there are new songs added to the performance assistance mode. So this is Bard Perform. Usually it is like that Ozu mode where you can play along to certain music that shows on screen and the keys highlight. They've added the Eternal Wind and the Mushroomery added to that, so you can play along to those songs, which is always nice. There are new rewards available for Chloe's Gold and Silver certificates of commendation, and as a result of that, that means that Wondrous Tales has been updated as well. So if you want to go back to Idleshire on patch day and pick up a new book before you do any of the content, then you can earn towards new stuff. Now, that also probably means you can exchange those commendation certificates for some of the new crafted stuff, because there's lots of new crafted gear in the game as well to keep your eye out for, especially if you're doing content in PvE. So in regards to battle system changes, a new meditation gauge has been added for Samurai. As you can see from this image, there's those 3 dots there. This is to help people track their stacks of meditation much more easily, so that should help people who had problems before. Amnesis and Ida, the brand new dungeon, has been added. This unlocks as a result of the MSQ progression. Level sync has been added to the following duties. The Twinning, Academia, Oneida, and the Grand Cosmos get shifted to a 470 item level, and apparently the music for certain dungeon boss battles introduced in 5 and 5.1 has been adjusted as well. Not really sure what that means. Maybe there was a few issues with the tracks, but those have been adjusted. And this is really good. This is affecting pretty much the entire game. To help alleviate inventory clutter, certain items such as Void Scent Blood and Bat Fangs will no longer drop from enemies in instant dungeons. Well, that's a hallelujah from me. That'll make running those old areas much more pleasant. The new trial has been added. We talked about before, Cinder Drift as part of the Shadows of Werlight. This will have a 455 item level or above requirement from that Resistance Officer in the locks where you unlock it. And additionally, that same NPC will allow you to unlock the Extreme mode once the first mode has been completed. This will have a 470 requirement to get into, so a little bit higher perhaps than a lot of people might be. There's an interesting one here. Gunbreaker and Dancer weapons are now added to the Minstrel's Ballad Shinryu's domain, so you'll be able to go and see what goodies they've added for you, because those didn't exist, did they, back in Stormblood? So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what weapons they get added, if they're going to be brand new designs or if they're going to be like recolors of quest weapons or something again. Ooh, let's see. The drop rate for the Fey Guiba and the Innocent Guiba has been increased, so you'll be able to get those mounts a lot easier from Innocence and Titania now. But alternatively, you can exchange 99 of their totems finally in Yulmore from the NPC Fafard for both of those mounts as well. So if you've been storing those totems, you should be able to exchange those. Obviously, the new Eden raid has been added, like we said earlier, and this will have a 455 item level restriction for the first wing. As a result of this, you get the usual token rewards. So we got like the Helm of Golden Antiquity and stuff, which you can exchange for gear of your choice after the raid. And you also get one of the Blade of Golden Antiquities once every week, which you can basically save up and upgrade your like tombstone weapons and stuff like that when they're actually available to upgrade in the future. And obviously Savage Eden has been added. The first wing of that requires 470 and above item level. The second wing 475, the third 480, and the fourth 480 to get in. So there's your requirements to be able to get into that. So the following duties have been added to the Raid Finder. So we have Cinder Drift Extreme and all of the Savage Eden. Obviously things start to move around. The Duty Finder gets changed depending on all of those new additions, and obviously certain things get added to the Expert Roulette, etc., as you would usually expect. An interesting point here that applies to the entire game: the Healing Potency Up effect gained from the Echo now applies to all HP restoration actions in the game, rather than healing spells only, so that's pretty useful. That's going to be a small passive buff to healing across the board, especially if you have an action that's not a direct heal, but it heals. That should be increased from this as well, which is pretty cool if you think about it. Players will now receive the power of the Echo in Hades Elegy, for this is Hades Extreme, and that will be up to a maximum of 25%, which is very generous indeed. So Copied Factory has had basically all its restrictions removed. We can get anything from coffers now, free roll on those, and it's an infinite amount of manufactured coins, so you can just keep running that stuff to upgrade your gear as you desire. So catch-up mechanics are very much a go. We also have adjustments made to Epic of Alexander Ultimate. The weekly restriction for the totems for those weapons has been removed as well, and item levels in there will be synced to 475. So if you're looking to do Epic of Alexander Ultimate, that will mean that you'll be able to farm whatever weapons you want at your own leisure. The following additions and adjustments have been made to Allegan Tombstone. So Allegory has been added as the main. This will have a small cap of 450 per week and a hard cap of 2,000 at any one time. And the limitation on Tombstones of Phantasmagoria has been removed, but you'll still have a maximum of 2,000. Goetia are no longer available, but you will be able to exchange these for Phantasmagoria at places like Oriana, in Mordona, and other token exchange vendors to get them turned into the new currency. As a result of that, Genesis and Mendacity have been completely removed from the game, so if you do still happen to have any of those, do go and exchange them, because they will just be non-existent as soon as you log in. So Duty Ruler Expert, obviously, like we say, has been changed. It's back down to 2 dungeons only, the Grand Cosmos and the new Amnesis and Nida, instead of the 4 it was previously. And Duty Ruler Expert has been shifted to a 440 item level, so up 10 in general to be able to do that. And like we say, everything has been shifted around for all of the new trials and dungeons. So yeah, the only notable thing to really read out here is that the Mentor Roulette is up to 455, up from 435 item level to actually queue into that. So that's worth noting. And obviously all the rewards for everything has been changed to Poetics, Phantasmagoria, and Allegory, as opposed to Goetia. Basically across the board, everywhere, everything from elite marks to maps, you name it, everything has been changed to accommodate those new changes to the currencies. So they do say here very quickly, there's like one small PvP section for Frontline. It says the matching system has been adjusted and the randomization of PvP alliances has been improved. So presumably now we'll have less like just, Twin Adder all the time. That would be nice. I just seem to get Twin Adder, even though I'm not a Twin Adder. So yeah, it would be nice to just go in there and have some randomization. And hopefully this has changed it. So we have a section on new items added to the game. They show the new tier here from obviously the new Eden raid, which we've looked at in another video. They say the gear set chosen in the ranged physical DPS gear design contest has been added to the game. That steampunk design there, which looks really nice. I believe we get lots of other sets designed around that theme as well, which we looked at in a previous video, but that's really nice. And we have lots of new glamour recipes and lots of other recipes. They show a glamour off here, which is kind of like a toga or something, or a Greek sort of design. I quite like that. It's not as fashionable as some of the other stuff they've added, but yeah, I'm looking forward to crafting and collecting all of this stuff. New master recipe books have been added to the game, so obviously that goes with the crafting overhaul. Lots of new stuff to craft, like we say. And the following items can no longer be used. As a result, their descriptions have been updated. So now Mission Ceruleum and Mission Ceruleum vouchers, these are for Diadem, no longer exist, because obviously Diadem is now just a gathering only thing in the Restoration of Ishgard. And apparently the following items are now categorized as seafood and not bones. So that includes like corals, basically everything from cloud to red sky corals. Another thing just to point out that they've talked about and we've talked about in other videos is the changes to Fieldcraft Demi Materia 1 through 3. That has a much lower sell price, so make sure you sell those before the patch day to actually make a bit of gil. Because people were using this as an RMT method, it has been changed accordingly. So there's a few changes to materia they list here. We've talked about these, but let's quickly gloss over them. Essentially, you can extract them from spirit bonded gear without losing the original item now. So you can essentially keep spirit bonding those items and just getting more materia. And materia can be melded to the gear regardless of your crafter class, as long as obviously you're level 80 on that crafter. So there's no like, you have to be a carpenter to meld a staff, for example, or a bow. You can be whatever you want. And they also say the materia melding menu can now display items that have reached a maximum number of melded materia. So there's a few changes there. Quality of life changes to the heads-up display for that menu. And also we have a list of a number of materia held displayed during the materia melding process. So you know exactly how many more you have in your inventory, which is a small thing, but a welcome thing, I think you'll agree. So lots of items can now be sold, desynthed, submitted for expert deliveries, or used in materia extractions. So things are changing accordingly, as they always do. And of course now there's another section. It says the following items can now be equipped regardless of gender. So the tail coat of eternal innocence, etc. So this is the male and female exclusive wedding stuff is now available. Like, for example, you can be a bridesmaid outfit. The bride outfit on a male character. You can have the veil and everything. So that's a really 2020 movement. I didn't see that one coming. Good on Square Enix. It's going to make things a lot happier when people complain about the inability to wear what they want during their wedding ceremony. So yeah, that's pretty cool, I think. You'll agree. Very interesting change that no one expected. So new crafter actions have been added to the game. That includes veneration and groundwork for all classes. These are obtained at level 15 and 72 regardless. And I believe veneration increases the efficiency of synthesis actions by 50% for the next 4 steps. And I believe groundwork increases progress at greater cost to durability. The efficiency decreases by half when your durability is below durability cost. So there you go, if that's something that interests you. And the following crafter actions have been adjusted. They've changed Inner Quiet to have a control bonus. Can now exceed 3,000, and innovation, the effect changed from increasing efficiency of synthesis and touch actions by 20% for the next 4 steps. Instead, it now increases the efficiency of touch actions by 50% for the next 4 steps. So a few changes there to just a couple of actions for crafters. They have removed ingenuity and reuse from all classes for crafting. So that's one change. That's one way of stripping it down. It's now easier to increase the progress and quality for recipes higher than your current level. That's a big change. Due to the changes to the crafting system, the required progress and maximum quality of certain recipes have been adjusted as well. The required collectability of certain collectibles has also been reduced. So that includes crafter collectibles, crafter custom deliveries, and Ishgard restoration. So those will likely be a lot easier to do now. And a calculations feature has been added. So you can actually calculate things like in a craft. So you can actually calculate them before you do them to see if it would actually work or the chances of something working, which is a really, really nice addition. As you can see here, you could scroll down this in your own time and look at this. There's actually a favorites tab as well. So you can actually save that sort of rotation into a list. So you can see it at any time in that favorite, so you can see what rotations you're using, and presumably that allows you to create your own macros which are based on that, which is actually quite helpful indeed, especially if you want to figure out crafting yourself and you don't want to use third-party websites. Very nice indeed. Due to the addition of the calculations feature, information relating to progress and the quality increases at 100% efficiency is no longer displayed in the synthesis window. It's been moved into that new calculations window, which is obvious, really. The following additions and adjustments have been made to the crafting log. So apparently when you're highlighting an item in the recipe tree, the required materials are now displayed in blue. This makes it easier for some people to see. And there's some new features to the materials list as well. The option to lock the window, preventing it from being closed, is there. So that's pretty helpful, especially if you're moving around and opening lots of other menus. And the display only materials with insufficient stock filter has also been added as well. They say the following adjustments have been made to desynthesis. So the cap for desynthesis has been increased from 460 to 480 for everybody hyped about that. Stacked items can now be desynthed one after another. So that's even better sort of quality of life stuff. I'd completely forgot that was going to be a thing in 5.2. That's quite huge. Adjustments have been made to the materials gained from desynthing certain items as well. So adjustments have also been made to the desynthesis skill required for certain items. And it says for gear, the required desynth skill is equal to the item level of it. And some features such as targeting are unavailable during desynthesis for whatever reason. The effects of food and medicinal items will no longer expire during crafting. If the timer expires during crafting, The effect will only be removed after the current synthesis has ended, which is a really nice touch there, because obviously you don't want to rush through something just because that timer on food's running out. You want to be able to finish what you're doing, so that's nice. The sound effect to indicate the successful crafting of a high quality item has also been changed. I'm not sure what into, but that's worth looking into. And the following gatherer actions have been adjusted. So patience, powerful hook set, and precision hook set have basically been changed in terms of reduction to their GP costs and duration reductions, I believe, for patience. And the level requirements. So they're all available at level 15 instead of 51 for Fisher. So that's pretty helpful indeed for people who want those skills earlier, and there's no reason not to. They say a new confirmation window will appear when you cancel out of gathering at legendary and unspoiled nodes. This is to make sure you're actually certain you don't want to actually continue gathering. And they say the following favor items for gatherers no longer have an effect, and adjustments have been made accordingly. So the item name, like Trader's Favor, for example, all the way through the Matron's Favor, says they can no longer be obtained from a Splendor's vendor in Idleshire. If you have any of these items in your possession, they can be exchanged for Rowena's tokens, which are the blue gatherer scripts, by speaking with the Splendor's vendor in Idleshire and selecting Token Reclamation. They can now also be sold to vendors, and the help text for these items has been updated accordingly. So items that could only be gathered while under the favor effects can no longer be obtained. From Black Swan Feathers, Bit of Foxglove, you'll have to look at the list yourself in your own time, but those are no longer obtainable in the game. If you have any of these items in your possession, they can be exchanged for the blue crafter scripts as well at that token reclamation once again. So yeah, these items can no longer be traded or sold on the market, so they're pretty much defunct. You might as well get rid of them. And apparently the following items are now available in the Splendor's vendor in Idleshire under Tradecraft items, including Purified Coke, all the way to Skyspring Water, all available for blue crafter scripts as well. There's lots of other crafted stuff there on that list. Adjustments have also been made to the animation to indicate a bite when you're fishing, and apparently only the player fishing can see this effect. It can be disabled in the options menu as well, but obviously you have a different symbol depending on the size of the fish, I presume. So we have 1 exclamation mark, 2 exclamation marks, and 3 for the biggest fish in the ocean. Versatile lures have been added to the game. These actually allow you to catch a wide variety of fish. These can be purchased from merchants and menders in Limsa Lominsa Lower Decks, and indeed on the Endeavour, the new ocean fishing ship itself. These allow you to fish pretty much anything you want under the certain categories those lures are listed. But it's a way of making things a lot easier to deal with without having 100 different lures. Adjustments have been made to the message displayed when failing to meet the requirements for fishing at sky fishing and dune fishing locations. So it will actually give you a proper message, I presume. And as of this patch, new miner and botanist gathering points have been added to the game. New items have been added to these gathering points, new fishing holes, lots of new fish. The level of certain fishing holes in Raktika Greatwood has been lowered to 70. New teeming waters have been added, new varieties of fish. Obviously, there's a new beast tribe, and there's also ocean fishing, and there's like this crafting and gathering stuff. So, there's going to be lots of new stuff to go and gather. So they have a little section on ocean fishing here. We're not going to go into too much detail since we've already talked about it, but essentially if you go to Limsa Lominsa Lower Decks to the docks, you will see a little icon. So every 2 hours you have 15 minutes to actually go and register for ocean fishing. And essentially you can queue in solo or with a group fewer than 8 players. So they say the ship will depart even if there are fewer than 24 crew members. So that's obviously future-proofing right there. So essentially the availability and routes are depending on the time slot. The route taken and the time of arrival at a destination may vary, and there's actually a list here. You can actually talk to a nearby NPC, and you can see the schedule of those fishing holes that you can go to on the boat, which is quite cool. You have bait that you can purchase during the actual fishing voyage itself from a vendor on board. We'll keep track of all of the fish you catch into a log and give you a score essentially at the end. But they do say that levels 1 to 49 get experience, 50 to 79 get experience in yellow gatherer scripts, and level 80s get yellow and white gatherer scripts. So that's quite handy actually. So I'll probably end up spending a lot of time on those fishing voyages myself. Players who are inactive for more than 30 minutes in the Firmament will be logged out automatically. This is in result of all of the new changes coming to the Ishgard restoration over the next couple of weeks to prevent people from just AFKing there. There is an instance restriction. There's a total amount of people that can be in that area at any one point. So we have a logout timer specifically for the Firmament there. New mounts have been added to the game. They showed a Ruby Weapon Dragon, which is really cool, and Ruby Weapons Barding for your Chocobo, which is really, really nice. I like the Ruby Gem in the center there. Can't wait to get that. Obviously, new minions. We talked about these in a previous video, but we have the little shark dude and the Amarotian, what do you want to call it? Spectre, something like that. They're going to be awesome. Hopefully, the shark isn't from the Underwater Voyages, but I have a sneaking suspicion it might be. So I'm going to have to rank up that submarine. The number of crafter and gatherer scripts required for certain items has been reduced, which, yeah, that's not really that surprising. There's a bit of a system changes here. New achievements and titles have been added to the game. There's actually some adjustments made to some achievements already in the game. Gathering and crafting achievements have been combined into a single category now, as opposed to separate categories. And additional duties and trials now count towards the completion of your tanking achievements. So we actually have a new Amnesis Anida Cinderdrift on Savage mode, and we also have Eden and Eden Savage as well on there for your Tank You Paladin, Gunbreaker Warrior, Dark Knight, etc. So additionally, the duty time remaining will now be displayed prior to the disappearance of a circle restricting player movement at the beginning of a duty. Upon completing a duty, the time until players are forced to leave has been changed from 10 minutes to the remainder of the duty's time limit. So apparently in cases where the time remaining is less than 10 minutes, a limit of 10 minutes will be used instead. New retainer exploration venture levels have been added, so obviously we can send them on more perilous routes and get them to bring more stuff back. Lots of new stuff added in this patch. They say fees are now charged for items bought from the market board when the player is in the city where the item was listed. Very interesting. The following additions and adjustments have been made to fellowships. So here we go, some fellowship changes. Let's see if they've added anything good. A notification will be displayed upon login if any of your fellowships has a new poll or message on your general tab. That's quite handy. Not what I was looking for. I was hoping for the ability to have like a chat function, but that's pretty good. Some notifications are welcome. So the following options have been added to activities. So we got triple triad, collectibles, and chatting. So not that you can actually chat in a fellowship, but that's a new fellowship type. And obviously adjustments have been made to the fellowship finder, including the fellowships list now allows players to highlight fellowships that fulfill certain conditions. So there are more search results you can look for your own particular fellowship. And you can also set the conditions to include the fellowship name or comment, recruiter name, and fellowship size. If more than one condition is set, fellowships that meet any of those conditions will be highlighted. So that's a way of just, highlighting something on a big list if you can't see it with the naked eye. They've added a couple of filters for main and sub activities and recruiter's home world. The number of fellowships displayed on every page has increased from 20 to 40. So you don't have to scroll as much, and pages in the Fellowship Finder can be exchanged with LB and RB, or L1 and R1 on PlayStation 4 buttons on a gamepad. So the next section is all to do with Waymarks. We talked about this previously in a video, but essentially there are two new marks, 3 and 4. You can no longer actually use waymarkers in combat. We do have a Waymark presets function where you can save certain waymarks and load them up. There is a limit of 5 of these in total, so you can have one for, anywhere you're going. But apparently waymarks cannot be saved in certain instances, including Eureka and Deep Dungeons. So this is really for your actual trials and raids and stuff like that. It works in dungeons, though. Adjustments have been made to the duty recorder as well. The Minstrel's Ballad, Hades, Elegy, and Copied Factory added to that instead of just the Dying Grasp. They're dropping Eden's Gate Supporter Savage from that list entirely. And when viewing a recorded duty, turning off the HUD will also hide your waymarks. The storage space required for one slot of duty recorder data has been increased from 60 to 210 megabytes. This is a PlayStation only change, but at least you have more room to save those particular recordings. And as we can see here, there's a few G-pose changes. You can load and save settings. So this is camera angles and stuff like that. There's lots of new frames added. Again, we've looked at this in other videos, so if you want to go watch those instead, they go into further detail. And apparently there's some changes to Party Finder. The category Exploratory Missions has been renamed to Gathering Forays. This is for Diadem. And when recruiting for Alliance raids, the recordable toggle allows you to specify that duty recorder is being used. This only applies to the Alliance raids compatible with the duty recorder. As of 5.2, only the copied factory is available. So there's a few changes again to the UI of Duty Finder, so we can actually see how you've queued, whether that's unsynced or whatever, helping you identify what you're doing. The option reply in selected chat mode is there, so you can reply directly to people off a sub command in chat now. Apparently, if a player logs out during the 72-hour period in which they have returner status and then does not log in again for another 45 days or more, they will receive returner status again for 72 hours upon logging in. The camera distance set when logging out will be retained upon logging back in. That's quite a nice little quality of life change. And if a recommendations window is locked when logging out, it will now be locked when logging in as well. Players who have completed either the seasonal events in Adventurers We Trust or Messages in a Bottle will now have access to the following toy chest minigames: Slide 1 and 14, Concentration and Cheap Dungeon. And players who have completed the seasonal event Deus Ex Machina will now have access to the Egg Hunter rigging minigame as well. Minigames featured in future seasonal events will also be unlocked in a similar fashion. The /dice command has been added. It will display a random number from 0 to 999 in the current chat channel. So if you want to roll against other people just for fun or whatever, you can use /dice in that particular channel, and it will give you a random number. This is quite fun with other players, especially to see who has the lowest number and the closest to one you can get. The following options have been added to the character configuration interface. This includes the General tab, Log Filters, Announcement tab, Alarm Notifications, and also the Display Name Size of the General tab as well. And then there's lots of other chat commands we can use here. And then the final section of patch notes here. Additions have been made to the auto translation dictionary to all of the new stuff added. And of course, that applies to PlayStation 4's autocomplete dictionary as well. New music has been added to the game, and the launcher layout has been updated. So of course, this is the patch where you're not able to select the old way of logging in. This is the way that we're going forward. The new launcher is unfortunately the way of things to come. But that's pretty much the 5.2 notes. I know this took quite a long time to read through, but I thought it was, there's quite a lot in here that wasn't worth skipping. So hopefully you found that, helpful. Not everybody has the sort of time to sit down and read through this, but perhaps if you're in the car or whatever, then this is probably the best format for you. Either way, thank you kindly for watching, and I'll see you all next time.